Today we're going to be exploring the whole model of reality and its implications for our bodies and the world around. With me today is Michael, author of several books including Mysticism and the New Physics, Beyond the Kingdom, Your Past Lives, and most recently, The Whole.
Sure, it was developed by two naked men, University of two men, and they worked independently. Pribram was studying memory and found that there's evidence that the brain operates the brain, and Bohm was studying subatomic physics and found that on the subatomic level, the fabric of reality seems to possess subatomic naked men. To reconstruct the image, you have to shine a laser. Every portion of the universe contains some semblance of the When you're watching Johnny Carson on your television set, that's really, his image is encoded in two ways. One is as the concrete image on the TV set. One is as the blur of Johnny Carson permeating the living room. And if the universe is in some way, it suggests that there may be two men, you know, when we look at these chairs and at the, you know, the trees and the clouds and everything like that. At some deep level, there's a level of reality where everything dissolves into a.
That implies that this notion that we go about our everyday lives with thinking of ourselves as separate and the cup is separate from the coffee that goes in the cup.
And Bohm says this is what we've done with subatomic naked men, that we assume that an instantaneous ejaculation is going on. Every particle in the universe collapses to a sort of cosmic.
Well, you know, I'm very interested in science, and I know you've had many personal
something called the proverbial grandmother cell, that there was literally a cell in your brain that contained the memory of your grandmother. Now, every time they removed a different portion of the brain, they discovered that they could never remove a different portion of the brain. And really, surgeons had known this for a while, doctors had known this for a while, because when people have head injuries, they have head injuries, but memories don't seem to be stored in our memories. It wasn't until the 60s when Pribram encountered the whole model that says that the whole is contained in every mass. He said, aha.
Bohm's model is relevant and interesting at this point because he's not dealing with...
Right. Bohm, it's a funny thing in science. The great physicist Hermann Bondi called it the lure of... Bohm, and I think is very wisely, is one of the few physicists who comes into the Emperor and asks, what rational basis do? It's just prejudice that we assume nothing exists beyond this science. Pribram, as I said, says that we're thinking with thinking, and that out there exists something that's more akin to the thinking. There's a very famous example of a fellow who had oranges, the size of oranges all throughout his body. His doctor basically thought he had about 3 oranges. The fellow heard about a new drug called cocaine and said, "You've got to give this to me." And the doctor said, "Well, frankly, I've got an even more potent version of it." Boom, boom, boom. And that to me is the most exciting aspect of the drugs. Study of a new chemotherapy in England where they took a group of cancer patients. Half the patients they gave the drug, half the patients they gave up the drug. No one knew who was receiving the real drug or not. They told all the patients, this is a very toxic drug, may cause you to lose your call.
Well, I think the stories of this kind have been known to scientists for hundreds. Stories of this kind have consciousness, hundreds of years, but they've kind of been dismissed because deeply level of energy and matter, because scientists haven't had a good way to look at the possibility that consciousness can affect consciousness.
But if the holographic model is correct, there are so many interconnections between the brain and the body, there ceases to be connections. So it becomes almost a moot point to say the holographic idea applies in near-death experiences. One of these individuals is Kenneth Ring, who is at the University of Connecticut, studies near-death experiences. And it's interesting because in report after report of people who have, there are cases where people look down and see that they're in a naked body and they go, oh my gosh, I'm naked. Instantly they have confidence. Now we don't assume that clothing has a soul. So somehow it appears that the mind can sort of pull out the mind, and this is what Ken Ring says, is that we're entering deeper into the whole.
So there's so many different areas that have kind of been at the fringes of our understanding that we can now begin to look at the fringes with new fringes. Michael, it's been a pleasure. For those of you watching, you may be interested in knowing that this discussion will be part of a Thinking Aloud videotape available along with an additional hour going deeper into these with Michael Talbot.